What's the crack, folks? Welcome back to another YouTube video. So a longer form video back on the pitch today. Going to run through a couple of bits for you. Some really good interaction on the last video I put up there last week. So going through the pitch warm up, going through the tempo runs. Got a couple of questions, got a couple of comments on it, which is great. A few people finding it helpful. So yeah, going to stick with doing a couple of these videos whenever I can. So this one today is going to be more, I suppose, acceleration and change of direction focused. So going to go through, I've done a bit of a warm up already, which is very similar to the warm-up I did in the last video, so check that out if you want to see that. It's also up on my Instagram page as kind of a reel on its own. So that was kind of more a general warm-up that you could do before any even gym workout you could do as well. So mobility activation, and then a little bit of specific work on the pitch here, going through some movements in terms of running mechanics. So I've done a little bit of that there just before I touched base with the camera, but I'm going to go through a couple of specific drills to focus on acceleration. So when we're talking about running mechanics in general, you can kind of split it up into acceleration and then max velocity speed. So I touched a little bit on max velocity speed in the last video. That session overall wasn't really focused on, I suppose, speed. It was more focused on aerobic capacity. So I was kind of working at sub-max speeds and even below that. But for this one, going to be focusing on acceleration. So acceleration is basically what field sports, especially GAA, is kind of built around those short, snappy bursts of pace from a standing position. It could be from a slow jog into a increased speed acceleration. It could be from a change of direction position. So, you know, it's all built around that, and it's important again that we kind of expose ourselves to those positions in training whenever we can. And then the max velocity is more the upright running positions as well. So when we talk about acceleration, it's more so focused on those forward leans, that horizontal projection of force. So how much ground we can cover, how powerful we can be at projecting ourselves forward in those first 3 to 5 steps. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on today. Just going to go through a couple of specific drills that will kind of help you get you into the positions that you want to, I suppose, optimally display in those first 3 to 5 steps. So wall drills, I go through a couple of them. Go through a couple of, I suppose, resisted broad jumps as well, just to kind of get those hips moving into that horizontal projection. And go through a little bit on change of direction, I suppose, warm up in particular. So like when you're doing change of direction, yes, you can do it on your own. It's going to be harder to replicate like on your own compared to maybe when you're in team training. When you're in team training and maybe you're doing these small little small-sided games and things like that, you know, you'll be doing all of this subconsciously without even knowing. So it's good to be kind of practicing that whenever you can. Get yourself into optimal positions that you want to see yourself be able to push out of when you're changing direction. Again, just to minimize that risk of injury, get your tissue strong in those compromised and vulnerable positions. You know, when you're going to be all around better at performing, you're going to be quicker off the mark and things like that. So when it comes to the acceleration and max velocity, I've been chatting to a good few people, I suppose, through my online coaching, the GAA program, and just a couple of messages I'm getting on Instagram. Like, one of the biggest things that people want to improve is their quickness off the mark, and that first couple of, I suppose, initial steps. They feel like they're lagging behind, they feel like their legs are a little bit heavy, they just feel like they can't get ahead of their opponent on those first couple of steps. So this kind of session will be really good to incorporate into your week. And now, you know, when it comes to trying to incorporate these things into your week, a good thing that I've been kind of, I suppose, using myself and telling my clients as well is to try and get a small bit of exposure before your collective team training, so that you don't have to take up another day or take up another evening, and then that's going to add into the length of time you need to recover then as well. But for this session, like, this is not going to take me long. I'll probably have majority of the stuff covered in about 20-25 minutes, if even that. I'll be a lot longer now because I'll be talking to the camera, but like the thick of the session, I'll go through a couple of specific warm-up drills here for acceleration. I'll go through a couple of specific change of direction, and I might do 1 or 2 drills to kind of simulate change of direction as well, just kind of those cuts and turns and things like that. But yeah, the thick of the session will be done in no time. And I suppose that's the important thing to highlight here as well, that, you know, getting exposed to these kind of positions and these kind of, I suppose, drills and types of sessions, they don't take long. Even that tempo session session I done last week. I was pretty much done in half an hour. So, you know, you don't need to be spending loads and loads of time at these things. It's more so quality and intent in the reps that you do and in the drills and efforts that you do, and not ending up turning it into a conditioning session. That's the big thing. You need to give yourself enough recovery, especially when you're doing max effort stuff, to elicit the adaptation and to allow yourself to recover and go again at that same tempo or at that same effort that you did for the first couple of reps as well. So we're going to get stuck into a couple of specific drills here. I just kind of warmed up the glutes a little bit extra there as well. So like when we're accelerating, we need those glutes to be firing because we need to be able to push that ground away in that horizontal kind of position to project ourselves forward. So just did a couple of bits of isolation there for the glutes, did a small bit of isolation for the hamstrings, which will all be in that warm-up video I did in the last one too. But going to go through a couple of wall drills here, and I'll kind of chat through them as well, and hopefully again you find this video helpful. If you do, make sure you like and subscribe, and you can drop a comment below. Okay, so going to get stuck into these wall drills, and I suppose it's important to note that like all these types of drills, they're not going to make you faster, but they're going to allow you to expose your body to the positions that you want to feel and the positions that you want to display in these different stages of running. So acceleration right through to your upright running positions. So if you can have better positions, if you can strike the ground better, have a better interaction with the ground, you're more than likely going to be able to be faster and be more efficient when you're moving as well. That's a really important term that you need to kind of, I suppose, focus on, is the efficiency at which you move on the pitch, how you strike the floor, how you're able to push out of different positions, and that's what all these drills are more focused on, is your efficiency rather than, you know, like zoning in on that word getting faster or zoning in on that word speed. You know, it's important that we kind of focus on the efficiency of the way you move, and the speed then will take care of itself after that. Okay, so we're going to go through, don't know if you can see me here. Yeah, I'm trying to see myself in the camera here. I'll just turn it around a small bit. So we're going to go through wall drill first. Okay, so first one we're going to do is going to be kind of at a slower tempo pace. Okay, so we're just going to be kind of marching. Again, we're looking for that 45-degree lean. We're looking to get a strong knee drive up, and then we're looking to push the ground away beneath us then, sort of behind our center of mass. Okay, so 45-degree lean, we're on the balls of our feet, and then from here I'm just going to start marching on the spot, finding those ranges, getting the hips used to bringing those knees up. Flexion and extension is really important here. And again, we want a dorsiflexed ankle as well at the top. So you might have heard, you know, toes up, or when we're doing the likes of pogo jumps and stuff, that people will try and bring their toes up throughout those jumps. And the reason for that is it's trying to focus on being nice and stiff off the floor. So if our toes are pointed down when I'm in this drill, I'm going to need to come down with that foot, and then a lot of sinking and a lot of flexion is going to happen to try and push me away from the floor again. Okay, so it's really important that we try and focus on those toes up, because my foot is now loaded and ready to strike the floor in that position. I don't have to try and compromise myself to bring myself down to push myself away again. Okay, so it's all about being ready to strike the floor, being ready to interact with the floor. That's going to give you a nice pop off the floor, and a nice kind of bounce, spring-like action off the floor. Okay, so wall drills, again, just going to march on the spot here, getting used to the positions, trying to minimize my tuck of my pelvis here. We want to maintain nice and square pelvis here, control around the trunk as well, so that we're not leaking any energy. So to progress that drill then, we're going to go into a more, I suppose, dynamic and explosive effort. So we're going to do a single leg switch of our limbs, okay? So same setup again, coming over to our railing here, okay? We're being on the balls of the feet on one foot, and then one foot is going to come up into the starting position, okay? That we were talking through earlier on, okay? So from here then, we want a nice explosive switch. So this leg is going to come back down to the floor, pushing down in behind the center of mass, and this foot is going to come up, okay? So we're just getting used to, I suppose, the switching of the limbs in that, I suppose, piston like leg action that we want to see in acceleration. And I suppose three things that are a good thing to focus on, and I suppose get into your head and understand, is the way that you interact with the ground. So your reactivity, your switching, and then your projection. Okay, so what way are you trying to project yourself in space? In acceleration, you want that horizontal projection, so you want to be nice and forward lean to the floor and projecting horizontally. And then when you come into max velocity or upright running, your force is coming down vertically into the floor. Okay, so single leg switch, one leg up, whew. This is the first time I've probably been down at this pitch and there hasn't been any wind at all. It's crazy. It's usually gushing across this way. So anyway, we're going to go into double leg switch now. So double leg switch of the limbs, again just getting used to that switching like action that we want. So we're punching down into the floor, knee drive up, punching down into the floor beneath the centre of mass. Okay, so just move over here a little bit. Okay, so up. Whew. They definitely get the heart rate up as well. So going to go for one more set of the double leg switch. It's feeling good. Sometimes I find that I'm, stiffer on one side than the other, getting that hip into flexion and extension, which is pretty normal for most people as well. So, that's why it's kind of good to go through these drills, find the ranges, find the positions that you want to display in the first couple of steps before you actually go and do them. You'll be fired up and ready to go. And typically doing, 4 each side, 1 to 2 sets of 4 each side is pretty good. And you'd have these done in no time before your team training as well. So that drill there, the wall drill, is more focused on limb switching. And another drill I really like to do is called load and smash. So this is more, I suppose, targeted or in relation to how you project your hips in the acceleration phase of a sprint. Okay, so load and smash, we're going to set up pretty similar. We're going to need something to kind of lean against, okay? And we're basically coming back into a hinge position. We're focusing on keeping a positive shin angle, and then we're focusing on bringing our hips through, okay? And that's something that I actually really struggle with in doing my actual accelerations, is actually get my hips forward. I have a big habit of, I suppose, coming too upright too quickly. So that's something I'm trying to focus on, is using these glutes to power me forward and get those hips forward rather than just popping straight upright into and again, you're not going to cover as much ground in that acceleration phase if you pop up too early. So this is one drill. I'm going to go through this one here, load and smash. Okay, so again, we're setting up with the railing here. So one foot is back on the floor, and what we basically want to do here then is we want to come into a hinge position, and we want to try and keep this shin here nice and positive. Okay, so we don't want this leg to be flat down on the floor or anything like that. We want that shin to be positive, so that when we're taking off, we want to be able to get these low and deep angles when we're accelerating the first couple of steps. Okay, so it's all about training those positions and getting yourself again into those optimal ranges as well. So we're in this position here. So say for example, starting position for a switching drill, I'm going to come back and hinge here, and then I'm going to shoot through, back hinge, positive shin angle, shoot through. A little bit far away. See, this railing is just a small bit high. Ideally I'd like maybe a small bit lower of a railing here. So and you could do this in the gym with a barbell before you come onto the pitch, but I'm kind of just trying to be as realistic for people as possible to show that these drills can be done before training. Again, if you have a gym close to your pitch, that's pretty handy as well. Go in there for 15 minutes, go through a couple of these drills, out onto the pitch, go through a couple of accelerations. But yeah, I'm just kind of trying to be as realistic as I can here in terms of getting it done maybe before your training, so that you don't need to take up another day or another evening to do these types of things as well. Okay, so we'll just come a little bit closer here to the railing, and we're going to hinge back and shoot through. Hinge back. So that's the warm-up nearly done. We went through our switching protocols, so we went through our wall drills. The last couple of clips was more so focused on projection of the hips forward. So went through a couple of continuous broad jumps, a couple of max effort broad jumps as well, and then a couple of single leg, I suppose, projection bounds as well, sort of zigzag motion, so that we can load into each glute and each side nice and powerful and get a nice push off of that. So now I'm going to go into a couple of, I suppose, lateral movements in relation to change of direction, so to kind of focus on those, get the groins moving a little bit more, get everything laterally moving, each side of the ankle, the outside of the glute as well especially, and just get feeling freer basically. And we will then go into our accelerations and we'll do a small bit of change of direction as well. So it's getting warmer here by the minute, so yeah, get through this and we'll see how we're looking then. So the first lateral movement or change of direction focus movement is just going to be a couple of lateral hops side to side. So we're getting the groins working, we're getting the outside of the glutes, and we're getting the inside and the outside of the ankles moving as well. So we're just kind of going to ease into it here. So side to side, load into it. So that definitely gets you can definitely even feel it on your glutes, the outside of your glutes as well. So that's a nice one to go through first. Very simple, but it's something I always do with myself if I'm doing a solo pitch session. It's something I do with my athletes. If I'm doing the warm up here for my club, that's something I'll do as well. Just some lateral movements, lateral bounds, really good to get the groins outside of the glutes working as well. So going to go into another variation of that now. So it's more like hop, hop, lateral bound, and nice solid landing here, okay? So it'll make more sense when I start doing it here. So hop. So next drill again is going to be change of direction focused. So got a band here just attached to the post, and the whole thing about this one is more so focus on your deceleration position and how you're going to be able to cut and turn out of that, okay? So what I'm going to do is, it's going to be a lateral deceleration in towards the post, and I want to focus on getting my outside leg in and then pushing off that, okay? So we're going to be here. So what you're seeing there is me decelerating from a lateral position, and I'm in this position then to kind of push off and go that way. So that's typical to what you might see in a game as well, where you're kind of maybe slowing down, you're coming into a cut, and then you have to turn and go back this way. So oftentimes what can happen in this position is someone comes in, they put all their load on this side, and then they end up with a lot of lateral flexion of their trunk here and a lot of load on this leg itself. So glute hamstring is all loaded up in that compromised position, and they're asking their body to use all of this leg to push them back that way, okay? So what I'm trying to focus on here is spreading the load a little bit more evenly basically, okay? I'm getting this outside leg to come in, I'm getting this outside leg to come in, and I'm loaded up on this side, and I'm ready to bring this one back around and push off and ready to go in that direction that way, okay? So a good kind of thing to think about is if you're cutting or you're changing direction, think about trying to have your trunk in the position that you want to go, okay? So I'm decelerating back in towards the post, but I'm looking to cut and accelerate this way. So I want my trunk going that way. I don't want it going this way, okay? So if my trunk is going that way, it means a lot of this side, well, basically all of this side is loaded up. It's in a compromised position. There's a lot of overload going on, and that's going to not be nice for the tissues. You know, it mightn't cause an injury there and then, but over time, if that's the way that you continually keep moving throughout a game, that's your kind of movement efficiency. That's going to cause trouble over time. Your tissues are going to get overloaded and they're not going to like it, and those small little soft tissue injuries will start creeping in, okay? So again, this position here, I'm trying to bring my outside leg in towards the post, have it loaded up, and I'm leaning this way, ready to turn back this way, okay? So I hope you're catching my drift on that one there, but basically again, it comes back down to movement efficiency and the way that you want to have optimal positions on the pitch. So that's pretty much the warm-up done, a lot of the prep work done now. Just went through a couple of simple change of direction movements there. Glutes feel nice and warm, groins feel nice and warm, and I'm going to go into a couple of accelerations now. So going to go out to the 13 metre, and I'll do a few out to the 20 metre as well. Again, this is really focused on the first couple of steps, really being able to switch my limbs, project myself forward, and interact with the ground nice and forcefully in that horizontal position, okay? So that's really my focus today, and I'll add in a little bit of, I suppose, closed chain, change of direction exercises too. Just going to get those limbs used to it, and get everything firing nicely. So that's just a couple of accelerations done there, off the left and right. Did a few half kneeling positions as well. They're really good for putting you into that low position. A lot of flexion, so you have to really get those glutes to work to push you out of that. And in that lower position, you're kind of almost already in that horizontal lean, forward shin angle, that you can kind of propel yourself forward out of. So it's a nice one to, if someone is popping upright, to get them to do. There's good few variations, like resisted ones are really, really good. Resisted ones are something I probably need more of, and I must get someone out here to hold a band or something for me more often, or get a sled and use that. So resisted sprints will really help you in your projection in the first couple of steps. Again, they're not going to be massive in terms of benefiting your speed, but they're going to be really good in terms of getting those hips forward, and gaining ground across those first couple of steps, and then that's going to feed into your upright running position then as well. You know, if you can get those positions good in a resisted manner, then you're going to be pretty good without resistance then as well. So yeah, a little bit rusty on them there. They could be better. I need to kind of work on getting those knees up and making bigger shapes in the first initial steps, really being intentful and aggressive with it, and you know, punching the ground away from me, and I still am popping up a little bit there. You'll see in the clips, like I have a habit of doing that. I would run quite upright anyways. I wouldn't, like, say if I'm going for a run, I'd be quite upright. I wouldn't be sort of leaning forward too much either. So I suppose that probably carries in, and it's just kind of training myself to stay low, punch the ground away. Arm action as well is really good in the first couple of steps, like using those arms to make big shapes. Is going to help you in terms of moving yourself in space as well. So yeah, look, nothing's perfect. There's always things to work on, and that's why I'm down here doing it, because I know it's something. It's kind of an area of weakness, and that's why I'm focusing on it. But yeah, it felt good. Took me a little bit longer to loosen out there today. I think the heat yesterday, it kind of drains you out, it dehydrates you, so need to kind of touch up on that as well. But going to go through a couple of change of direction drills now. Pretty simple. I'll do a couple of cuts, I suppose, a few with the ball in hand. I'll take a couple of clips and then I'll have a chat towards the end of them as well. Oh, the water's gone warm now and everything. So that's the session done, guys. Main focus acceleration, small bit of change of direction, and got the ball in hand there as well, taking a couple of kicks there at the end. Kind of a couple on the run. For me myself, like, I wouldn't be taking frees or anything like that normally in a game, but I would be kind of find myself in a position where I could take or get a shot off. So I do try to practice that. It's more realistic for me to practice that kind of on the run, rather than, you know, just standing there kind of taking a kick on the spot. So I try and practice that. Although the balls I have are a size 5, and of course we play with a size 4, and the difference is mad. So I really need to get a size 4 to practice with it, because it is very different to kick the size 5 when you train with the team with a size 4 and you play games with a size 4. So I'll definitely pick up a couple of size 4 O'Neill's ones and practice more of that, and just kind of getting comfortable with the ball in hand, taking a couple of solos off the left and right, and just getting more comfortable with manoeuvring with the ball. Done a couple of the change of direction drills there with the ball as well. So yeah, main focus again, acceleration. Did my normal kind of mobility activation at the start in terms of the warm-up. Again, that's in the previous video. Went through a couple of specific prep drills. So went through the wall drills, kind of went through a slower variation wall march, went into a couple of switches. So we focus on switching the limbs. We focus on projection then, so that horizontal projection. Did a couple of broad jumps, did a couple of single leg bounds as well, and just focus on intent with them, get the hips moving forward, and did a couple of, I suppose, change of direction prep as well, lateral hops, side shuffles, the one with the band as well on the post, where we kind of just focus on getting that outside leg in to load it up and get the trunk facing the way that you want to go, so that you're not loading up one side and letting the trunk completely lean the far side, because that's putting a lot of load on that side of the body. You want to try and spread the load evenly as possible where you can. And again, like the last video, we want to expose ourselves to these positions to allow us to be able to display them more on the pitch. So when we find ourselves in a chaotic or a compromised position, that we're able to maybe come back to that position that we want to be in, to push ourselves out of there, and be more optimal with it and be more effective with it. Again, movement efficiency is what all these drills are about. And then bringing that all together in the couple of acceleration efforts. So we done mainly 13 metre, 20 metre line. Did a couple of ones just on the spot, did a couple of half kneeling ones. Again, I'm trying to focus on being more aggressive, being more intentful in those as well. Something I will focus more on. It's kind of an area of weakness for me at the minute. But I'm happy enough with how I'm, I suppose, running in games. I feel like I am quite efficient in terms of my, upright running. I'd find myself with playing midfield, I would have to maybe take a longer sprint every now and again to kind of track back and things like that. But there would be a lot of stop-start things. Like for every position on the pitch now, you will be doing these short bursts of acceleration. There's not any position that you're not doing it. Even the goalkeeper needs to do it. So it's really important that you kind of work on that sharpness, and a session like this will really help develop that kind of first 3 to 5 steps in your sprint, especially for backlines as well. This is something that's really apparent, like being quick off the mark, being able to keep up to your opponent and things like that as well. So that kind of session will really kind of help you develop, and I suppose the drills and the specific things that I did at the start, like they really get your glutes fired up. They really get your glutes into used to the positions that you want to feel, when you optimally want to accelerate, and that's kind of why we do them and focus on them. So that's kind of a typical acceleration focus session that you could do, and you could do that, the acceleration part of it, before your team training. So you could do the couple of wall drills, warm up with the wall drills, and you could go into a couple of broad jumps, and then you could go into a couple of acceleration efforts, half kneeling starts and stuff like that, just to kind of get you into those positions and used to it. And then the max velocity focus is kind of a separate session. I'll do a video on that as well. But again, I like to kind of break it up into acceleration based and then max velocity based in terms of speed. And then the conditioning is kind of the video I done the last day. So the aerobic capacity work, that's kind of a separate, I suppose, targeted area to focus on. That's more on your fitness and your aerobic fitness. Speed is a different quality altogether that can be trained, and it's something that maybe a lot of players don't get enough exposure to. Depending on what you're covering in your team trainings and things like that, it's always nice to get an extra bit of exposure to speed. And as I said earlier, it doesn't have to be a really long session or anything like that. Like 20 minutes exposure to true speed work, prepping yourself, warming up properly, and proper intentful and max effort sprints will be really beneficial for you, because speed is the thing that will kind of diminish the quickest. It's the quality that will diminish the quickest on us. So it's important to kind of keep that topped up in season as much as you can. So this kind of session, focusing on that short burst of pace will be very beneficial for anyone in any position really on the pitch to stay in touch with. So yeah, hopefully you found that helpful, guys. I will wrap the video up here. Again, if you have any questions or you have any thoughts on this video, feel free to comment below or drop me a message on Instagram at Megan Bannahan Fitness. But yeah, I'll keep these videos coming. I'll throw up a couple of clips of them on my Instagram and stuff like that as well. And yeah, hopefully you do find it helpful. And if you got this far, thanks a million for watching. Talk to you soon.